Welcome back to Strictly Money. Did you know that nearly 80% of former NFL players have gone bankrupt or are under financial stress within 3 years of retirement? 60% of former NBA players are broke. Despite having lucrative paychecks, many athletes find themselves with nothing after leaving the profession. Now, you may be surprised, but there are many reasons for this, reasons we can all learn from. Jon Bowles is a wealth advisor and co-founder of MoneySmartAthlete.com, and he joins us now from LA. Good morning, Jon. Great to have you on.
Good morning, Saijal. Thanks for having me.
So I often share these statistics with people, Jon, and they are shocked, right? But as someone who's done a lot of financial planning, especially for high net worth individuals, I have discovered that it's not really about what you make, it's about what you keep. And I think more importantly, how you plan. Would you agree?
Yes, 100%. It's definitely about planning and obviously understanding this thing called deferred gratification and living beneath your means. Super important across the board.
So let's talk about the reasons why so many athletes go broke. Short careers is one that they probably don't think about.
That's correct. That's correct. You mentioned the NFL, and I think your listeners may have heard this term, but the NFL stands for not for long, right? Which means that these careers last on average of anywhere from 3 to 5 years, and in 5 years, it's probably closer to the actual average. But the fact is you earn all of this money. On average, I think the salaries are now just a little bit above $1 million on average, but you earn it all within that short period of time. So if you can imagine over the course of you or my career could be 30, 35 years. If we earned all of our money in 3 to 5 years, what does that mean? And for many, it means we're going to spend every penny and every dime, and we've got an unlimited amount of money coming in forever and ever. And that's just not the case.
I mean, you work with a lot of these clients, Jon. What is their thinking? Do they not have that perspective? Obviously there is a lack of planning because, they must realize that sort of one injury even and they're out.
Well, the key to the successful athletes with their money is obviously that family presence. So if you do have a close-knit family, especially if mom is involved and dad is involved for sure, then you're definitely more likely to succeed, only because you understand that influence has been in your life for many, many years, and it's that same influence that's helped you get to where you are. And for the others, it's the complete opposite, right? Sudden money syndrome, where all of a sudden they've got more money than they've had in months and years. But I think that's changing also as well, and we'll talk about that briefly. But in the past, what you've seen is hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars, and in some cases hundreds of millions of dollars, and all of a sudden it becomes an unlimited money pit. That again, that's not the case. We've got to think about taxes. We got to think about retirement. We got to think about saving money, preserving, and then the risk management side of things. Like you mentioned, one injury away from losing that career, and now you're retired, and now you've got to figure out what your identity is and who you are and what you're going to do to earn money. So those are some of the biggest things we've witnessed is that the lack of preparation, right? One of the athletes I've worked with years ago told me, he says, Jon, you got to understand that while we're in our career, we're always thinking about what's next. We're always thinking about what are we going to do next? And that's always the looming concern, he said, that haunted him. And he played in the NFL for close to 11 years. And he went on to be very successful. He bought a couple of pizza franchises, and now he's in the Indianapolis area, and he owns 11 different pizza franchises, and he's doing relatively well. But it helped him to think about what was next, and many don't think of that.
We only have 30 seconds, Jon, to the commercial break. I have to think that the pressure and the need for validation and sustaining your own image has to play a part in the way they spend.
Absolutely. Without a doubt, the emotional stresses, the peer pressure, just everything associated with who they think they need to be, right? What's my identity? Well, I'm the successful football player and I should be able to buy dinner for everyone and buy
Yeah.
everyone a home. So,
Yeah. Okay. We will continue this conversation. A lot more to talk about when we come back. Welcome back. Jon, before the commercial break, we were talking about how athletes go broke and some of the reasons that they do go broke. How do you approach them? You've been working with athletes for many, many years. How do you get them to heed your advice?
well, my approach and my team's approach is to definitely impress upon them that you're paying us for this service. And if you're going to pay us for it, then you might as well get something from it. And if you're not going to adhere to the advice, then what's the point of working with us? And then we impress upon them the experience we've had and how we've had other clients that have had some reluctancy taking the advice, right? Sticking to the budget. And then we've had others that want it like right away. Well, what's my limit? How much can I spend? Should we put limits on the credit cards? So we've had a mix of both worlds, but I'd say the family approach, having everyone, at least mom and dad, involved initially, because a lot of the folks we'll get are the younger ones coming right out of college. We're looking through the NIL deals right now, trying to help those that want the advice sooner rather than later.
Okay.
So that's very beneficial. But it is hard by all means. It's not something they just lay down and say, whatever you say. That just doesn't work today because it's their money and they've worked really hard for it. So
I think you make a really interesting point too, Jon, is that the family has to get involved because wealth is not just based on one individual. It's typically, it's predicated on the behavior of parents and spouses and sometimes kids as well.
Yeah. Absolutely correct. We see our most success when the family's involved because it's been a family venture for quite some time. I have kids. I've got a 20-year-old daughter, a 17-year-old son. They're both in college and they've played athletics their entire lives. And I was there from day one, driving them everywhere, getting them to games and things. And it's definitely a family venture. It's tough when it's not, because then you're left out on an island and you're looking to depend on others to give you that advice, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I want to talk, Jon, about the role of education, because you are one of the founders of the Money Smart Athlete. I've talked to your co-founder as well, and this is the Sports Financial Literacy Academy. Really impressive. You have a number of courses. I've looked at it. Can you just talk a little about it? Because you're not just catering to just the professional athletes. Obviously, it's junior athletes and female athletes. Why have you developed some of these curriculums?
Well, as you mentioned, my co-founder, Athena Constantinov, she's worked in Europe now for years with the football clubs there. And she's an expert in the name, image, and likeness in Europe with helping these clubs identify the value of each and every one of their players. So when we began to work together about 5 years ago, she was starting and put together this Money Smart Athlete website and blog. And from that born was the financial literacy courses. It's Sports Financial Literacy Academy is the name of the courses, and the curriculum, again, starts at about the age of 6 to 12, and then there's roughly 12 to 18, and you've got the professional athletes, the collegiate athletes, and the female athletes. But with the experience we have found that education, information, being able to help people understand these concepts, it allows them to then find more interest in other things. It's like a child, in a sense. If you give them a clay, they'll play with the clay, and the next thing you know, they're building things, and then the next thing you know, from there, they're wanting to find other things to add to the build. So we found with the education, it's very empowering, and it's part of our, three-pillar approach, where it's about the empowerment, the education, and then the parenting skills, for the parents that are
Yeah.
involved in this process.
Okay. Jon, we have to leave it there. I will say we'll get your website. It's up there right now. So if you are an athlete and you're watching this or a parent of one, I really encourage you to take a look at their website. Jon, appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Saijal. Take care.